Hello, America. Welcome to your Leo Nation, where we believe in and support the rule of law. I am the Chief, Mark Garrett. With us today is, I want to call him a special guest. I mean, he is special. But when you say special guest, it gives him probably more authority and praise than he deserves. But that's not true. He deserves all of it. I'm the chief. He's the officer, expert in law enforcement, everything law enforcement. Marcelo Arrue, welcome to your Leo Nation once again.
Thanks, Mark. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. A few shows ago, we did some commentary on the Tyreek Hill video, the stop in Miami,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of comments on that one, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting. You were not able to be on that show. I wish you had been, but
Right.
that kind of led us into another topic. Some of the comments there kind of sparked some interest and some thought about, I mean, not directly, but it reminded me of the sovereign citizen. I don't know if you want to call it a movement or
hmm
existence or things like this. I wouldn't call it a group because I don't think there's anything formal about it. But I know I dealt with sovereign citizens throughout my patrol career. I know that
Yeah.
it's still a reality for you from time to time.
Yeah.
And well, you know what? I'm kind of like making presumptions. I assume from time to time you still deal with a sovereign citizen, or have recently, or not too distant
Sure.
past.
Yeah. No, we've dealt with them before. Some of them very, very good in interpreting the law in their favor. Others not so good. And you can tell the ones that try to spew out case laws and stuff like that. They try to use it in their favor, but there's a lot of case law that helps officers do the things that we do. Pennsylvania versus Mims, Maryland versus Wilson, and we'll talk about those. Graham versus
We will
Connor.
talk about those. We will talk
So,
about those. And this is actually what happened. Now, when I talk about the Tyreek Hill video from a few shows ago,
mhm.
in no way do I think that Tyreek Hill claims to be a sovereign citizen. Absolutely not. That's not the point.
No.
But one of the points you actually commented, you responded to
hmm
one of the comments,
Right.
um, and you brought up one of the case law examples that you just talked about, and so that was the nexus that got me from that caper to
Yeah.
the bigger sovereign citizen. Again, I want to say movement, kind of it's a movement, but the
Yeah.
existence of
The
some people.
existence. Right.
and I looked at case law up. I was familiar with it, but I went back to refresh my memory,
Sure.
and so I started digging. I thought, this is actually an interesting topic. I've dealt with it so many times. I know
Yeah.
officers across the country deal with it, and so here we are. So let's talk to the audience little bit, discuss with the audience really about what a sovereign citizen might stand for, or believe in, or claim to be. So
Right.
there's a lot. There's a
Yeah.
lot when you just go Google
Sure is.
sovereign citizens. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of things, and I will let you fill in all the blanks that I leave here in a minute. But there are a
hmm
couple of things I think are really pertinent to what we're going to talk about and what we're going to watch today. And the first thing is about the freedom of travel. So sovereign citizens
Right.
believe, by the way, rightly so, that they have the legal and constitutional ability, the freedom, the right to travel between states, interstate travel, to sound
Sure.
redundant. And of course, we all agree with that. There's no doubt about
Right.
it. And uh, they believe because of that, they don't have to adhere to any other laws, state, county, local, federal, whatever it is,
hmm
when they are traveling in a certain mode. And one of those modes, the one that I dealt with most of all, was operating a motor vehicle on a public highway.
Right.
So they don't they do not recognize driver's licenses. They do not recognize registration and things like this because they feel that that
Correct.
is impinging upon their constitutional rights of free travel between states. Is that pretty much what you gather or familiar with?
Yeah. I mean, they're in a nutshell, they're anti-government, anti-establishment. So anything that will identify them, they're against. Driver's license, passport, social security numbers. Um, they don't want to. They don't want to be part of the system, but yet still take advantage of the privileges that we have in the United States. And driving is a privilege; it's not a right, which is why you need a driver's license, which is why you need to adhere to the laws of the land or the laws of that state. Now, some states, as you know, there is no speed limit. And I know Montana, I think, it dabbled with that. And they went back and forth. Here in California, if you're on a freeway, it's 65. On a street, it's 35, as you know. They don't want to adhere to the law of the land. Now, the FBI describes them as an anti-government extremist group that believe that even though they live in the United States, they are separate from the country. They are separate from the laws. They don't. They feel that the like courts have no jurisdiction over them, and so
Hmm.
This is why they don't pay taxes. This is, like I said, why they don't have any identification. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't have driver's license, or they have a form of identification that they've created. And so, you know, that's kind of the issue that you come up with some of these people that believe they're sovereign citizens. So and again, some of them are very versed in case law that benefits them, and they try to interpret the law and tell officers that they're violating their rights.
Hmm.
And in a lot of cases, they're not, because they have a legal. If an officer has a legal right to stop you, then he has a legal right to ask you for your driver's license. And if you don't have that type of identification, a legal driver's license, he also has the right to pull you out of the car to identify you at that point.
And we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some examples and some videos we're going to watch here in a minute. I'm glad you brought that up. Also, you said about states require you to have a driver's license. One of the tactics that sovereign citizens use, they will tell the officer, "I'm not driving. I'm traveling. I'm traveling.
That's right. That's right. I've heard
This
that.
is
Yeah.
my mode of transportation. I'm traveling. I'm not
Right.
driving. So why do I need a driver's license?" And I think we may have a clip of that in one of the two videos that we're going to watch, short videos here. Um, the other thing you touched on, Marcelo, was about they feel that they're not part of the government. They're not part of the laws of the federal government. They're not subject to them. And that goes back to, again, I'm speaking from their point of view. I don't agree with
Of
it at
course.
all.
Yeah.
But this goes back to the passage of the 14th Amendment, the adopting of the 14th Amendment, uh, which, in short, it it made protection of the law, under the law, equal for everybody, regardless of your race or any other mutable characteristics. And this really came out of the Civil War. They call
Mhm.
them the Slavery Amendments, the 13th, and 14th, and 15th Amendments, really to bring Black Americans into the fold completely constitutionally, legally, to give them all the same privilege under the Constitution as every other American. But the sovereign citizens, and it's very convoluted. They say that the 14th Amendment transformed the United States into a corporation, and they're
Mhm.
not part of a corporation. But they don't have
Right.
a contract with a corporation, and this is one of the reasons that they don't have to carry driver's licenses. This is one of the reasons they don't have to sign a citation in lieu of going forthwith to a magistrate, like all of us have
Right.
done in the past. Sign a
Yeah.
ticket so we don't have to go to the. They say
Of
they don't have
course.
a contract with the corporation, so they're not required to sign these documents, carry documents, so forth and so on. So I wanted to get those out there just to lay the foundation. Pardon my cough here.
Yeah.
um, the foundation for what we're going to watch here, a couple of videos, and we're just going to watch them. We're going to break them down a little bit. Both of them are less than 10 minutes, and And Marcelo, I'm going to let you chime in wherever you want to. I got some timestamps for myself, and but this is organic, ladies and gentlemen. We're kind of doing this on the fly because we want to watch this like any other cops would, kind of, and make decisions as we go. So Anthony, who is so good looking, we won't allow his face here on the computer, but in the background, um, he has the videos ready to go. So Anthony, let me set this up. The first one we're going to watch. These are both actually, ironically, out of Florida, or coincidentally out of Florida. I wasn't looking for Florida law enforcement, but these two videos were, they really fit into what we wanted to talk about. But this first one, they're both in Florida. It's from a sheriff's office, a sheriff's department, and this is a stop of a woman and her male passenger occupant in the vehicle, and we'll go ahead and run it. Anthony, go ahead. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Body Cam Watch. This is the website that we got this from, Body Cam Watch. Folks, check them out. They have a lot of good material on there. It really helped me out finding them. Lots and lots of good material. So check them out. Anthony, go ahead and hit it and stop it at 135.
On March 5th, 2024, an officer conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle for an obstructed license plate.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Can you roll down this back window, please?
There's a bunch of stuff that's gonna fall out, but
Oh, it will? Okay, okay. You can put it back up. You can put it back up. I couldn't see it. Your tint was so dark. There it goes. Do you have a driver's license on you? How you doing, sir?
this
Good.
is expired. I do have not expired.
Okay, sounds good.
It's just broken in half.
Yeah, that's fine. Sir, do you have an ID on you?
Yes, sir.
215 is there canine and stuff?
I need that for current training as a D4. Try to get my training
34, they're too far out. Ma'am,
Yes.
I don't know what you have in your bag, and I feel very uncomfortable with you keep on digging in there. Do you mind not digging in your bag, please?
ID, of course.
I got you. So you do have a license, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Sir?
It's expired.
Oh, that's your ID? Okay, cool. So where are you from, ma'am?
Okay.
California? All right. You do have a California valid driver's license? Okay, you do? All right. Do you want to step out for me real quick? I want to figure out your driver's license situation, okay?
Why do you
Because I want you to step out of the car. You're not going to? 215, another unit, refusing to step out of the vehicle. You ain't going to step out of the vehicle?
Why can't I stay in the car so you can look at my license? Excuse me.
Step out of the vehicle. I ain't playing this game. Just do what? Step out. Step out. Hands behind your back. Keep your hands behind your back. Face it from the door.
Anthony, go ahead and stop it, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
135. What's that?
There's a lot there. I don't know if you
there's a
want to
lot
start.
there. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start, and I just watched it a little bit ago, but this is so important. There's so many elements here, and again, I want to go back to the Tyreek Hill video and why the officer did what he did, what he had authority to do, where he overreacted. We both agreed that he probably lit things up higher than he had to be. But the very first thing I notice in here, Marcelo, you can tell me if I'm wrong, when he's approaching the vehicle, driver's side approach, they have these very, very dark rear windows, very dark.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you can't see in the vehicle. In other words, you cannot see in the back seat at all. And so as soon as he makes contact with the driver, the passenger, whatever you call her, the traveler.
The traveler, right?
He asked it, "Hey, can you roll those windows because I can't see?" And he tells her why.
Right.
I can't see in the back. Now, again, there could be 4 people back there with arms or whatever it is. He can't see him. She gives an explanation that, hey, if I roll it down, all this junk's going to fall out. She does actually roll it down real quick, and he sees that it's full of a lot of clothing or furniture or whatever it is, and he allows her to roll the window back up. My point being is that when we're talking about tinted windows, we're talking about an officer's vision being obstructed. He has great legal latitude to do whatever he or she has to do to make the environment safe for himself. Now, am I off base on that?
No, no, absolutely right. But just to clarify, Pennsylvania versus Mims gives you the right to pull the driver out of the vehicle. Now, there is nothing in Pennsylvania versus Mims where it says you can pull the driver out of the vehicle because you can't see in the vehicle because he or she has tinted windows. The mere fact that traffic stops are inherently dangerous, that in itself, you can pull a driver out of a vehicle. You don't need furtherance. And I think that's very important, Mark, because I think people think that, well, you have to give a reason, even though, a lot of people say, even though you can, should you? And the answer to that question is yes, you should. You should, because the Supreme Court has already established that because traffic stops are inherently dangerous, officers have that right for the safety of the officer and the driver. So there is no need for furtherance. There is no need to say, well, because she had tinted windows, I pulled her out of the car. Because I was in a gang area, I pulled him out of the car. Because I was in a drug, you don't need it. You don't need it. And so I think that has to be clarified, because I think a lot of people think that you need something else in order to do this. And the courts have been very clear about this.
Yeah, very clear. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm surprised that she had some sort of identification.
Some sort is the right it's the right phrase, because we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But to clarify, and it's a great explanation, Marcelo, that the officer doesn't need a quote unquote reason. The Supreme Court, like you said, has already said that traffic stops are inherently dangerous, and the officer can do, obviously within the law, within reason, what he or she has to do to make things safe. My point about the tinted windows was he also has the authority to order her to roll his windows down for her safety, aside from pulling her out of the car.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad you brought that up. It's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. And look it up. I think it's 1970, Marcelo. It's Pennsylvania Mims. And by the way,
yes.
Yeah, somewhere. It's a long time ago. But that case was based on just what we're talking about. Officer pulled someone out, did a pat down, and located a firearm on illegally concealed, illegally possessed firearm by the driver of the car. So now again, did the officer know until that point that the guy had a gun? No, but that's the entire point of the Pennsylvania Mims ruling, is that officers do have the authority to protect themselves. And that's exactly what we see here. So when we look at any other videos, aside from sovereign citizen, whatever they are, and cops are ordering the driver out of the car, just so you know, it's completely within line. It was a 6-3 decision by the Supreme Court 50 plus years ago that allowed cops to do that.
Another thing you see in here is that he asked the passenger for his driver's license or identification.
Mm-hmm. Glad you brought it up.
Yeah, and so law says that you can ask. Passenger doesn't have to give it to you because he's not in violation of anything at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think through this video, you'll see that he forms reasonable suspicion to now detain the passenger. And I'm sure it's going to be in there here in a moment.
Marcelo, another excellent one. I'm so glad you brought that up. An officer can ask anybody in the car for their ID. Can ask anybody. There's no law precluding that. Do you have to give the officer your ID if you're a passenger? No. However, like you said, if there's reasonable suspicion, certainly probable cause, then that all changes. I'll give you an example. You stop somebody in this case for expired registration or obscure tax, whatever it is, the license plate. You walk up there, you get the driver's information, you look over it, and you see, or you notice before the vehicle comes to a stop, you're able to see in the car, and you notice that the adult passenger is not wearing a seatbelt. Immediately, let me see your driver's license, because they're in violation of law. The reason I say adult, because if the person's under 16 years old, then at least in California, it's the responsibility of the driver to make sure everybody has their seatbelt on. But you see someone in violation of law of that vehicle, if they're, you ask for their ID, and then they have to give it to you. I had all the time. You can't ask me for my ID. I'm not driving. Oh yeah, I can. I can ask you for it. In your case, you have to give it to me. You could have your seatbelt on. But I'm very glad you
Exactly.
brought
That's a good point. That's a very good
very,
point.
very
Yes.
it's, but what you said about that asking for ID is
Yeah.
illuminating. Anthony, go ahead and roll it to 310. Stop it at 310.
Mm-hmm. 4:35.
Come here. You got weapons on you? Come on. Take a seat. Take a seat. Step out of the vehicle. Put your hands behind your back. You're just being detained, okay? Okay. I appreciate your cooperation. All right.
I'm just along for the ride.
I got you. Who's she to you?
She's a friend. And
Sit back. You got any weapons on you?
no, sir.
Here, I'll pat you down for it.
When you sat me down, you won't. The guy I work with, he,
Yeah, 10-4, you can downgrade, but I'm gonna need another unit.
it's his normal friend.
She's a girlfriend.
Yeah, it's his girlfriend.
Other than that BB gun, is there anything?
There's nothing.
Any illegal narcotics?
No, sir.
25 hours. May I see your ID?
Like my
Your badge and your ID.
yeah, sure. You want to speak to a lieutenant?
Oh yes, I'd like to see your ID.
You want to speak to a lieutenant? Lieutenant Nash, he wants to speak with you.
Show me your badge.
No, you're not
Your
stepping.
badge and your ID.
No, you're not stepping out. Okay.
Show me your badge and your ID.
She's trying, Samantha. She's trying.
Samantha,
I would like to see his badge and his ID.
first of all,
He
no, listen,
no.
listen. All right, then you're gonna
Your ID?
go to
Can
jail.
I see your ID as well?
My ID's right here.
Let me see it.
You're about to go to jail. I'm trying to talk you out of going to jail.
You're required to show me your.
There, you see it?
That's a government ID.
You happy?
Yeah.
All right.
Let me see your badge number.
I don't have a badge number. Yeah, you ain't in California. Ain't in California. My radio number's 25. You good? All right.
1026 of 20.
He's gonna read your Miranda warning.
Okay.
Okay, totally talking yourself into going to jail.
Do you know what Miranda is?
She did not ever.
Do you know what Miranda is?
No, I do not.
My reason was stay back.
Over there.
The reason why I pulled you, and I'll explain the reason why I pulled you over too. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You also have the right to stop answering.
Your ass to
Go and stop it, Anthony. So there are a few things here, and in the interest of full transparency, Marcelo, and objectivity, I do want to talk a couple of things that are ancillary to the sovereign citizen topic that we're discussing, and that's officer safety.
Yeah.
When the initial officer, because he called for backup after she wouldn't get out of the car, he has some backup there now, including his boss lieutenants there, but he brings her back to the vehicle now, and puts her in the rear seat there. There are a couple of things. At some point, apparently, and I didn't see it, maybe you saw it in the video, he's talking to her about the BB gun, or talking to this gentleman about the BB gun in the car. Is that right?
Right.
I didn't observe that in the car. Did you?
No, I didn't see that either, and I was waiting to see. He didn't mention it, so maybe he was just trying to be nonchalant about it. But here's where reasonable suspicion comes in. Now you can pull the passenger out of the vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and then he automatically explained, "Hey, you're just being detained. Is the BB gun the only thing in the car?"
Right.
I think later on through the video, I guess there's an open container also.
Yeah, there's plenty going on.
Right, and then some. I think that we see probably some contraband and stuff like that. But so now he's developed reasonable suspicion to pull the passenger out of the vehicle. Now he has that right under Maryland versus Wilson, where an officer stops someone for speeding and asks the passenger to get out. As the reason why he asked the passenger to get out, because he looked nervous, he was sweating profusely. This is under Maryland versus Wilson. He was sweating profusely, and when he asked the passenger to get out, a bundle of cocaine fell out. So he had reasonable suspicions to ask the passenger to get out, and then arrested the passenger, obviously for the contraband. So I'm
Right.
assuming here that he saw what appeared to be a weapon, which gave him the reasonable suspicion to pull the passenger out of the vehicle. Now we can talk about tactics, which is, you know,
And I do want to talk about tactics for those officers who are watching, or people who want to be police officers. um, and again, because we're not sure when he saw this BB gun, that adds something to the critique of the officer safety issue here. I'm not sure when it was, but either way, when he makes the second approach, when he walks between the patrol car and the suspect vehicle, he comes up on the passenger side of the car. As you notice, as he's walking up, he already has his cuffs in his hand. And before he makes any contact, before he removes the person from the vehicle, which, with my training, my experience, it puts you at quite a disadvantage, because now maybe your primary hand, your strong hand, your weapon hand is now occupied with the handcuffs, and it puts you at a disadvantage. So again, I don't know what the policies are at this particular agency and what his training is, things like that. So I don't want to be too critical, but that was a big red flag for me. Also, when he's walking her back to the vehicle, when he pulls her out of the car, he asks her to get out of the car, she gets out eventually. He actually just help her out. When he's taking her back, the entire time his back is to that suspect vehicle.
Oh, you beat me to it.
And
That's such a good point.
I'll let you take it from there. So go ahead.
Right. So obviously, he pulls her out of the vehicle, and I don't know if at that point he saw what appeared to be a gun, or what he saw, because as soon as he put her in the car, he went right to the passenger. So he had some sort of reasonable suspicion at that point. Because immediately when he pulls him out of the car, he goes, "Is that BB gun the only thing in the car?" So he must have already seen it. And this is just my assumption. But when you're by yourself, and I know, you, Mark, have done, single man traffic stops much more often than I have, but you never put your back to a vehicle that you haven't searched, or to a person that you don't know his motives. If you're going to, especially in a parking lot, if you're going to walk someone back, you walk backwards with the suspect, or in this case, the traveler or driver, in front of you. And you do that for obvious reasons. In this case, he didn't. In this case, he, like you said, he turned his back to a possible threat. Now, again, I never assume that a weapon is a BB gun. I never assume that. I've never had in 22 years. If I see a weapon, to me, it's a real weapon until I verify that it's not. So I don't know how he identified it so quickly, but pulling and you made a great point. You're walking up to the vehicle now, about to pull the passenger out with your cuffs already in your primary hand. And you're right, that puts you in a huge disadvantage, because if he does have a gun on him and he comes out, and if you can see, he opens the door of the passenger side. So now you've got your cuffs in one hand, and now you're using your other hand to open the door. You have nothing available to you, nothing to defend yourself with if that guy comes out with a pistol. So, I mean, those 2 points are great. And hopefully, we have young officers in here that can see this, because you kind of miss these little things. And I know we're talking about sovereign citizens, but that tactical, in this case, in my opinion, that tactical mishap can really cost you your life. You should always be. And you know what? Here's the other thing before we continue. There is no reason for you to walk up to that car again. Go on the passenger side, open your door so you have some sort of cover, and ask the passenger to come out with his hands up and come towards you. I mean, that would be the other great option, but go ahead.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you're gonna make that approach, there's a better way to make it, and probably your other and probably better option is to stay back there again with some protection from an open door and order that suspect back, the passenger back. On top of that, he already had backup en route. What's the hurry?
Right.
There's
Exactly.
no rush. And and just the previous video that we did. Again, we're not trying to be critical here of our fellow officers. No. We're trying to have everybody learn. I talked about it in the previous show that we did, our 2-part series on the CHP Newhall incident 54 years ago that cost the lives of 4 CHP officers. And I said in that show, Marcel, looking back, the number of times that I made serious tactical errors. And had I been dealing with the wrong person, I wouldn't be on this podcast. I wouldn't be any place on this earth right now. Had I been in contact with the wrong individuals, it was just God's grace that the two elements didn't line up. And so this is not to criticize; it's to learn from this. Like you said, we are talking about sovereign citizen, and we're gonna kind of wind this up. We have one more clip on this video to watch. This is very interesting because maybe the audience right now says, well, where's the sovereign citizen stuff? I haven't really seen anything. She kind of gave him an ID and blah, 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 blah. Well, just keep watching. And so you know who you're dealing with. Anthony, go ahead and play it and stop it at 558. 558.
And moving.
I have the right to not answer your questions.
You
have the right to put your hands on me?
Can I finish this? Yeah, I do.
You
will still have the right to stop answering anytime. You also have the right to stop answering anytime until you talk to the lawyer. Do you understand Miranda?
Can you read it one more time?
Do you understand Miranda?
Can you read it one more time, please? I didn't quite get all that.
Yeah, sure. Because you were moving. What you need to do is stop talking and sit there.
It takes me a while to understand everything you just said. Can
Okay.
you say it one more time, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
All right, I'll say it one more time for you.
Please.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice.
She can go to jail. She can go to jail.
And to have him or her with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions without a lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop answering any time. You also have the right to stop answering any time until you talk to a lawyer. Do you understand Miranda?
I'd have to answer that, but yes.
Okay. Yes, you do understand Miranda.
May I please get out of the car?
Okay. No, you're going to sit right there. I can smell alcohol coming off of you. I saw a Red Ryder BB gun. You refused to step out of the vehicle. Pennsylvania v. Men's is case law where I can ask you to step out of the vehicle. Huh?
I had one drink earlier today. Maybe that's why you smell it. That's a BB gun. It's not mine.
Okay, sweet. So you're admitting drinking alcohol.
Hush.
Just wait. Just wait. Let me finish, and then I'll let you talk. I pulled you over because you don't have a tag attached to the outside of your vehicle that's displayed outside the vehicle, okay?
You can't see it, right?
So I smell alcohol. I don't know what she's saying. I don't know. I smell the alcohol.
But you can't see it. It's covered up because I'm moving right now.
Yeah, in the state of Florida, you have to have registration on a motor vehicle on the outside of the vehicle, on the rear of the vehicle, okay?
I was not aware of that.
So I can smell the alcohol. I saw the front grip of what I thought to be a firearm. It was a BB gun. You refused to step out of the vehicle. I am going to take you to jail, okay? And I'm going to do a DUI investigation on you as well, okay? And if you want to do that, you can. That's entirely okay, and that's fine. But you're going to jail regardless, okay?
Jail for what?
For resisting without violence. I'm still getting back on your driver's license. I'm not still on that.
Your proof of identification. How are you able to?
I didn't have to. Resisting without violence, and I'm going to charge you with DUI, okay?
Trust anybody who comes up to us.
We're in uniform. What am I driving? What am I driving?
All right. Well, that can be your argument in court then. That'll be a good one.
Is there anything legal?
And Anthony, we may not be at 558.
Okay,
Go ahead and stop it. The reason I said it's because I just want to save the audience a little bit of time here. She starts talking about ID and uniform and how do I know who you are. This is all going into the sovereign citizen diatribe. The same, the same ridiculous arguments and delay
Right.
tactics that they use. She
Right.
finally, in this video, and folks, you can watch this, maybe we'll link to it, Anthony, watch the entire thing. That's just a few minutes longer. But she eventually asked to be released as a sovereign citizen. And that's in the video, and it's a couple of minutes from here. And one of the officers, deputies, turns to the other one. Oh, we got a sovereign citizen, kind of thing. She's asking to be released as a sovereign citizen. The point is this: is that some of these people, and we'll see in the very next video here in a couple of minutes, some people make it a little more clear. They don't say sovereign citizen, maybe, but they're a lot more overt about their political positions or philosophical positions. She was just somebody who was slightly uncooperative, kind of a delaying tactic, not providing the proper information. But we can see that clearly this was based, at least partially, in her belief that she's a sovereign citizen and she's not subject to the laws of this country. Marcel, I'll let you finish up this video. We'll go to the next, and that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so it's just like you said. She feels like that she's not. She doesn't have to adhere to the laws of Florida or any state, and doesn't really care that you're wearing a uniform that identifies you as a police officer, or that you have a vehicle that says police on it, and the county or the city you're from. So, I mean, this is part of the whole sovereign citizen mentality, is that they don't adhere to any authority when it comes to government. And so police officers are government in their eyes. So anything that you do has to be justified tenfold for them. Again, the fact that she showed him some sort of ID, I couldn't really tell if it was a California ID or a California license. And even he said, that her license hadn't come back yet. So,
yeah, he hadn't figured it out yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is part of the whole sovereign citizen, where they either have some form of identification that they've created themselves that can't be entered into a system, or they have a fake passport. And in some cases, they even use fake money. I mean, literally money that they've created. It doesn't, not counterfeit, but more just money that they said, well, this has got value.
Actually, it sounds like the federal government. I'm sorry, I just couldn't help. I apologize, but go ahead.
But yeah, so and I think a lot of people. I mean, if you're in law enforcement for a long time, like you were, and I am, you're going to deal with one of these people sometime in your career. And it's like you said, they feel like they're travelers. They don't adhere to state law. They don't adhere to federal law, and that the conveyance that they have is just a conveyance. It's not an automobile. It's a conveyance. So
conveyance. That's the right word. I was looking for that earlier. Well, you know what? They're going to get their wish. They are going to travel right to jail. Speaking of going to jail for these two, they were both charged with multiple felonies and possession of controlled substance. And the deputy asked this lady, "Hey, do you have any controlled substance? Do you have any drugs? Any drug paraphernalia on you, blah, blah." No. I'm going to search you, whatever. Do you have anything on you? I'm asking you right now, because if you take it into the booking facility, that's a felony, because now you're smuggling controlled substance into a prison. No. Well, guess what they found when they booked her? And so she got charged with smuggling in contraband to a prison as well. So good for her. And I hope her lawyer did a good job. So with that, Anthony, can you cue up video number 2? So as I said, both of these videos are in Florida by two different sheriff's departments, just by chance. See, that's how good the law enforcement here is in my home state of Florida.
Yeah, I know.
There's just so much good stuff. That's what it is. But so this second video here is another traffic stop, and it also has to do with registration. I think it's an obscured license plate, or obscured, or an unreadable tag or something like that. But this is why the officer stops him. and we'll take it from there. And I think this person's going to be a little more overt about sovereign citizen, maybe not using that phrase, but watch what's very interesting about this right when the officer gets up here. I think in my time, this is probably unique. Maybe not. Maybe it happened once or twice, but very unusual. Maybe not so much now with the advent of cell phones every place, but I've said enough. So, Anthony, go ahead and hit it. We'll stop it at 120.
Boss, how you doing? Not too bad. Deputy of the Sheriff's Office.
I just got pulled over.
Hey, so the reason why I'm stopping you, boss, I didn't recognize the tag that was on your vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have your driver's license registration with you?
There you go. I got the paperwork right here. Where's the paperwork at, Michelle? Here. All right.
It's where?
Yeah, let's see.
Oh,
Here. Show us talking.
it's on speaker.
Yeah, good.
Okay, where's your driver's license, boss?
That's first. No, I don't need my window down.
I'm sorry. So,
Stop it, Anthony. So, Marcel, I'm going to let you kick this one off. Observations.
Well, obviously he's got some form of paper when he asks for a driver's license, and I'm assuming this is the and I've seen this before. This is a whole letter basically explaining who they are and why they don't adhere to our laws, which, you know, for people that are listening and watching this doesn't hold water. You know, as most people know, driving is a privilege. It's not a right. You shall not, it's not a recommendation. You shall have a driver's license to operate a motor vehicle. Period. And so he gives them this document, and it's basically, if I'm not mistaken, explaining how they don't adhere to laws in the United States.
Yeah, it is. I have seen that before. It's been a long time. In fact, it wasn't until I saw this video that my memory was refreshed. I said, oh, yeah, I've seen this. They handed me this stuff, and I'm supposed to make what out of it? It's a bunch of gobbledygook, and it's a waste of everybody's time. And by the way, speaking of waste of everybody's time as far as officer safety and legalities, and by the way, also you think about it, it's the safety of the citizen, the violator, the motorist, whatever you want to call them, the person was pulled over. Longer enforcement stops are not good for anybody. Let's just, the shorter they can be, obviously within reason, they're done efficiently, effectively, completely. The shorter that they can be, the better for everybody. It's not good for an enforcement contact to be drawn out any longer than it has to be. So this is, in my opinion, it is an officer safety issue when someone is presenting information that is delaying an officer, it is sidelining an officer, diverting an officer from their duties or responsibilities, making them go back and forth to patrol car, get on the radio to call information and dispatch. It's unnecessary. And all it does is make life more difficult for everybody involved. As simple as that. The other thing I was talking about earlier about being unique, and again, when I would finish my patrol days, cell phones were really just kind of coming into where almost everybody had them. It wasn't 100%, but there were a lot more out there. I don't remember having a conversation other than assistance. Hey, here's my husband or my wife with the AAA information I don't have in the car. Can you call me a tow truck and things like that? But as far as the enforcement contact specifically, I don't remember having a conversation with someone not in the car. And so this guy, but think about this. This guy put his wife, we'll clarify later on, it is his wife, puts his wife on the speakerphone. And she is acting as a lawyer, so to speak, a legal advisor to her husband and telling the cop where to go, figuratively and literally later on. So I just want to set that up there about what the cop's dealing with and how he goes about it. So unless you have anything else on that one, this part of it, Marcelo, we'll go ahead and move it.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. Anthony, go ahead and hit it, and we're going to run it until 2:10.
So, do you have a driver's license?
Yeah, we're right there.
Okay, what's your name, boss? I don't see your
It's
name
right
on here. Can you point it to me?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not how this works. Where's your name at?
I'm just getting him the paperwork. Okay. Here, you talk to him then.
Ma'am, if he refuses to identify himself in this traffic stop, it's going to be an issue.
Sir,
Uh-huh.
he is identified as a national of the neutral power state. As you know, that removes him from your jurisdiction.
It doesn't matter who he identifies as. He's operating a motor vehicle in the state of Florida, ma'am.
Stop at everything. So now,
Unbelievable.
yeah, there's a couple of things here.
As you
It
know.
just as you
Yeah.
can't.
No, I'm sorry, ma'am.
You know,
I didn't take the crazy class in the academy.
now, for those of you who couldn't hear, and Marcelo and I are cracking up so much because we could hear that very well on the speakerphone. His wife is saying, no, now, as you know, talking to the officer, he identifies as a national of neutral power. I think that's what I made out, Marcelo. That's a new one on me, national of neutral power. And so he's not subject to your laws and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Again, when I first watched that earlier, I cracked up as well. I'm laughing even harder now with you because we both hit on it right away. This is, and I'm probably a little ahead of myself here. In fact, I am. I'll wait until we get to this next clip. But just keep an eye on how the officer handles this. Now, as we said earlier in the previous video, that I want to mix in when we see it. Again, it's just things that jump out at me. I
Right.
want to go ahead and cover some of the officer safety issues when I see them, and things that, again, I see all of us. I don't do it anymore. But for all of you out there who are still in the profession, think about these things. Don't make some of the same mistakes that I made. So right now, and I didn't skip over it, but I didn't comment on it when it happened. But you see his partner. I don't know if she was backup or I think she was in the same unit, I believe.
Yeah.
But his partners across there, Marcelo, and I think you see what I'm seeing. If you want to talk about that, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the partner is fine to be, as a passenger officer, when you're going on the passenger side, you want to be looking at the center console while your partner is talking to the driver. You want to be looking for any type of weapon or anything like that and if you do see something like that, obviously you want to tell your partner that there's some sort of a weapon there. The other thing that's, I think, more important is there is no reason for an officer to be talking to two people, one on the phone. Now, I've had this case before where here's my wife, and I go, okay, let me talk to your wife, and I take the phone, I hang up, I give it back to him, put the phone in your center console. Right off the bat, because your wife, I don't care if she's a lawyer, I don't care if she's a vice president, it doesn't matter. You're the one that I'm stopping. You're the one that violated the law or violated the vehicle code. I don't need to talk to somebody that is, unless you're a 14-year-old that shouldn't be driving anyway. Yeah, I need to call your mom. But other than that, hang the phone up because there's no reason to be talking to a person on the phone, especially one that is. I mean, come on. That tells you right off the bat that her husband is not to adhere to the laws because he's what do you say, a nationalist?
I think a national of neutral power. I believe is what I made out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just right. It's right there. Right there. I would hit that red button. All right. Thank you. And hang up.
Yep.
There's no point.
So this is where I said I didn't want to get a hold of myself, but this is exactly. But I'm glad you did because it's refreshing to me when you're having the same thoughts or I'm having the same thoughts that you are because you still do the job and everything's fresh in your mind. I agree. In other words, this is another delaying tactic. It's another interference tactic, and the officer doesn't have any responsibility whatsoever to be engaging somebody over an electronic device like this. Zero. His focus
Absolutely.
should be solely on the operator of that vehicle and whoever else may be in there. Going back to, by the way, you said unless it's a 14-year-old driving the car who shouldn't be driving anyway. I think about 40 years ago, your 14-year-old brother picked us up in a car one day. But anyway, that's a side story. I think the statute of limitations is up on that.
I
Remember what I'm
think
talking
so.
about? He showed up. I said, what are you doing here? You can't. Oh, you guys said you needed a ride. I said, yeah, but not from you. Somebody with a driver's license. But anyway, I just thought about that. But it
That's
actually did
pretty
happen.
good.
Two would-be cops got picked or got, yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
but with that, to be very nitpicky here, I'm being nitpicky. I agree with you that partner officer, and I would call a cover officer in this
Yeah,
case.
absolutely.
In other words, where she has put herself, I agree. Able to see the hands, able to see the center console, the dashboard area, 100%. However, if something does go sideways, then she's in direct line of fire, and so is the initial
Yeah.
contacting officer. So just, again, this is my opinion. This is my tactics.
Yeah.
When I would go up there, I would either walk up to the A pillar so I could look in this way to get a line of fire, or once I cleared the vehicle initially, then I step back here so I could at least have eyes in this way, being out of direct line of fire, or putting my partner in the direct line of fire. But you and I agree both that generally speaking, it's good to have them up there once the vehicle's cleared. We know there's no other threats in the vehicle with other passengers, to keep
You're right.
this driver compartment clear, the hands and other places that weapons could be secreted. So just want to
Absolutely.
throw that out there. I'm
Yep.
uncomfortable, looking at another officer right in a potential line of fire.
Yeah.
So with that, Anthony, go ahead and roll it. We'll stop it at 410.
Okay. Are for you.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlie 40%?
So, are for you.
Stop, ready?
When?
44. How far out is my second?
Your.
Charlie 49. 93. How far are you guys?
No, I just want to check it. Ma'am, so this is what's going on. The tag on his vehicle does not appear like it's proper back to any state. So it appears the vehicle is unregistered. Then on top of that, I come up here, I'm asking for his identification documents, and he's handing me a stack of the papers instead of a driver's license. So I'm concerned he might be driving without a driver's license, and his vehicle might be unregistered.
Because he signed a heart treaty, and you are in violation of it right now.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your name, boss? Sir, what's your name?
Everything right here.
Can I see your name, please?
Right here.
Where?
Right there.
Please point to it.
Right there.
Where's your name, sir? I'm not
Right
seeing
there.
it. Are you the postmaster? That's what
Yep.
it says. Postmaster?
Yes, I am the postman.
So is your first name Mark or your last name Mark?
No.
So nothing on here has
Right
your name.
Right there.
Is your Destiny
First name.
Mark? Destry? Is
Yep.
that how am I saying
Yep.
it? And what's your last name, boss? I can't see it.
Right there. Water.
Wagerman? What's your date of birth, sir?
It's all right there.
It's not
I'm
on
not
there.
telling him anything.
All right. Well, this is the thing. If we cannot properly identify you, then there could be a potential issue for us coming up.
I'm telling you that you cannot talk to us.
Well, that's fine. He doesn't necessarily have to talk to me, but he does have to obey my lawful commands.
Sir, as you know, the terms of the.
Stop. Marcelo,
Oh
going
my-
back to
oh
your
my
point
God.
about her saying, you cannot talk to us. I know we covered this in the last clip here, but this is a case, and I put down here on purpose, kind of being a little facetious. I put down about how patient the officer is.
Oh my
And
God. I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that.
Go ahead.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I wouldn't have gone this far. As soon as he shows me a piece of paper, step out of the car. And you're in cuffs. End of story. While his wife's talking, I hang up on her and put his phone back in the car. That's it. I mean,
It's
okay.
I'm laughing not because it's absurd, because it's the exact right thing to do. Because I'm writing down all over my notes over here, Marcelo. I'm writing down 148, 148, 148. In other words, this is it's a penal code in California, which is
Mhm.
obstructing, delaying, interfering with the lawful orders or activities of a peace officer. And by him holding that speakerphone up there
Right.
and putting it up near the officer's face and things like this, and handing these pieces of paper that mean absolutely nothing. It's not as if this guy's handing out an expired driver's license or an invalid driver's license, or or things like, or he can't find it. People lose their licenses all the time, things like this. This is intentional delaying and obstruction. There's no doubt about it. And so I'm laughing because it's like 100%. This guy should have been in handcuffs a long time ago. But for those of you who
Mhm.
think that so many officers, and some do, that so many officers, just go from 0 to 100 in a second, and they don't show any compassion, and they're over officious, they're over aggressive. There's no communication. There's no compromise. This is the absolute extreme other end of the spectrum here. And this is what more officers are like. Now, again, Marcelo and I think that he did this to a fault, that this is way, way too long. But we certainly can't say this guy is not making every possible concession he can, given the circumstances.
I mean, when he said, "Well, what's your name?" It's right here. He goes, "All I see is postmaster." He goes, "That's who I am." I'm like, "All right." At that
That's
point,
enough.
yeah. I step out of the car. I mean, at this point, you've already have someone that's not identifying themselves. You got a legal stop. There's no reason to be talking to this third person over the phone. Just pull him out of the car, put him in cuffs. If he doesn't give you his information, you impound the car because it can't be legally stopped there. Obviously, you got to do an impound search, or an impound inventory. It's not a search.
A storage
Yeah,
inventory. That's what it
yeah,
is.
a
Yeah.
storage inventory, and then you take them back to the station and you fingerprint them. I mean,
Yep.
I know it for an officer that just wants to cite this person. I know that you wasted half your day with this person, but I mean, you talk about patience, unbelievable. I mean, this officer went above and beyond, and like you said, probably to a fault.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think
good for
so at
him.
this
Good
point.
for him that
Yeah,
he
good for
has that
him.
much patience.
He does. And by the way, like he said, he's in handcuffs. You go get fingerprinted. The difference is in Los Angeles County, they're out of lockup before the fingerprints dry, and here they're in court. They're in jail until Monday morning. So
Exactly.
it's
Yep.
nice. Anthony, go ahead and move up to 5 minutes. We're going to go 5 minutes to 5:45. Just go, yeah, 5 minutes and hit it.
Lower Lynn, the Bombsy out of Lake Helen, expired back into that 22.
All right, sir. This is kind of where we're at. So I checked the.
Hang on, Michelle. Hang on. Michelle, hang on.
So this is kind of where we're at. So I checked the VIN. The car is currently looks like it's unregistered. So if you don't have, do you have a Florida driver's license or a driver's license out of another state that I can check to ensure that you're a licensed driver?
Right there's all I got.
Okay, well, there's a problem. So I tried to search you up under this. I can't find anybody, I can't find you. So if I can't verify that you have a valid driver's license, then how am I supposed to let you drive off?
She's coming.
That's not gonna change anything.
He's saying I gotta have a valid driver license.
Which top rated motor vehicle in the state of Florida, yes, sir.
Okay, here it's Catalina and Howland.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. It's a simple question.
So here he's made the determination that this guy's coming out of the car finally. And what do we hear in the background? We hear the lawyer spouse coming to the scene. Now, since that phone is still on, here's an opportunity. Now, again, I know the officer's occupied. He knows he's about ready to take this guy into custody. The guy's already, now he's becoming a little bit wiggly here. And so I'm sure the radar on the officer has gone up a bit. But I'd be shouting out right now, if I had the state of mind in that case, ma'am, if you show up, you're going to go to jail. Because if she shows up now, she's going to be interfering. I'll stop her right there and give you a little time to talk, Marcelo.
Yeah, no, I mean, that I think you hit the nail on the head. I, I I would say exactly what you said, ma'am. If you show up, you're going to go to jail because I don't need to deal with you. I mean, there's no legal reason to deal with a third person when you're citing this driver. It just there's no point in it. So yeah, I would have told her right off the bat, don't come here. You know, it just there's no point in it. You're going to make it
Right.
worse. And, I
Yeah.
mean, it's already either way, it's already bad because this guy's
It's already bad.
doesn't have a driver's license. Registration's been expired for 2 years. I think he said
Right.
22. So
Yeah, I think it was 22. I think this was earlier this year. But either way, it's been expired for at least a year. But even if you don't say, "Hey, you're going to go to jail," which really can't make that determination, but you're doing everything you can to keep her from putting herself in a position of going to jail and to help to ensure officer safety. But he should say, "Ma'am, don't show up. I'm giving you a warning not to show up." Anything. But again, I
that's
know he had other things in his mind, but here we go, and it's going to get fun. She's rolling up. Anthony, go ahead and fast forward here to 6:30. We're going to roll it for 30 seconds to 7 exactly. 6:30 to 7.
She's coming to talk to you.
That's fine. What state is your ID from?
I don't have an ID. I was surrendering my ID, my birth certificate, and everything.
When you used to have an ID, what state was it from?
Colorado.
Colorado. Okay. What's that?
They won't arrest her because it's fine. Here she is. She's right there.
That's fine. I don't need her actually, and she's not going to come over here. What is your date of birth?
It's right there. Everything's right there.
No, not everything is right here.
He has a birthday, is a living soul, not a corporation entity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Not at all.
This. I know.
Destry, hop on out.
I'm not. Why do I need to get out of my car? Have I done something?
Stop it. Marcelo, if you happen to hear that, or the audience, if you heard, she said she heard the officer asking for their birth date or referring to his birth date. And she said, he's a living soul, not a corporation. Now, if you remember earlier, I talked about the 14th Amendment, and they said when the 14th Amendment was adopted, back in 1868, I believe it was, in the 19th century, that it made the United States a corporation, and so they're not subject to any of the rules of a corporation. They're not subject to a contract of a driver's license because it's from a corporation. These are some words to listen to: corporation, living soul, things like this. This is where now you know for sure, obviously, if you didn't already know as an officer, this person is going to identify themselves as a sovereign citizen, and off we go. Marcelo, anything on that?
no, he should have been out of the car, 30 minutes ago. But
A
go
long
ahead.
time ago. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, this is our last clip, and I think literally justice gets served right here. So, Anthony, go ahead and move it up to 8:20, and we're going to run it to 9:15. 8:20 to 9:15.
Yeah, you might not accept it, but it doesn't mean it's not happening.
You guys are illegally fucking searching me for no fucking reason at all. None. None.
Stop yelling, please.
You just harassed them.
Okay.
Title 18 section.
Yes. Do you want to talk to him or not? If not, we're going to get him out of here. We're trying to give you the keys. Hey, what?
Hey, watch your back.
I need to call him myself because I have a phone number for him.
Unlock this door now.
No, I'm not going to you.
Get out.
We breaking?
Open the door. No. Yes, so. Now get out. Get out. Get out.
Out of the car.
Oh, shit. Stop it.
You guys told 241 and you're fucking hurting me.
Give us your hands. Give us your hands.
No. I'm not looking into your. I'm not signing anything.
X-ray 90 Central.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That's good, Anthony. That's the final clip. But like I said, you talk about poetic justice here. I almost was poetic. But
Wow.
look, here's the thing, Marcelo. We talk about officer safety. We talk about perimeters, and we talk about controlling the environment, interfering, delaying, obstructing. Give me your take on this when this woman, I guess his spouse, pulls up to the scene.
Yeah, I mean, just right off the bat, you as an officer, you have to tell her to either leave the scene or go far enough to where you're not interfering with the investigation at this point. But for her to take off and then come back towards the officers, I mean, it is an automatic threat. In here in the state of California, and I don't know what the Florida law is, but if you have a vehicle that's coming at you, you have to attempt to get out of the way, right? Florida may be different, but either way, it's a threat to the safety of officers. They could have done a number of things. Pulling out of the car was probably the simplest thing to do, but I mean that's a clear indication of interfering with officers' duties. And now she's going to jail for obstructing. But yeah, this could have been avoided, Mark, just by simply hanging up that phone, not talking to her, because as the officer is doing all his stuff, she's getting information on where he's at, the location that he was going to, and it gives her time to get in the car and start driving towards that location. If he would have hung up the phone right off the bat, she wouldn't have known. And so I mean, this is why, as officers, we have to use patience, but then we also have a discretion of how far that's going to go, and there has to be a limit to your patience. There has to be a limit to where you go, you know what, enough is enough. Now I've got to go in a different direction.
You have a job to do, and like I said, there's a balance to that job. The other thing I want to finish up with on this is to remind people, Marcelo, is that all of these officers have body cams on. I think, obviously, in-car cameras as well. These deputies know that they're being recorded, audio and visual. They know that everything they're doing is actually going, under public record, potentially. And it's just an aspect that hit me here right at the end. I know with the California Highway Patrol, when we first implemented in-car cameras, call it MVARs, mobile vehicle audio recording system. I forget how many years ago it was now, but quite some time ago. You know what happened to the number of complaints that we received statewide within, I forget, a very short time frame, but probably within 6 months or a year, something like that. The number of complaints in our officers plummeted.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, I want to be totally transparent about this, is that there's no doubt in my mind that some of that is because the officers realize, hey, you know what, I better not use a foul word. I better, whatever. I better make, 100% by the book as best of my ability. There's certainly some aspect of that cause complaints to go down. But as someone who's in the process of reviewing complaints in one of my jobs in the Highway Patrol, and taking complaints over the phone, what we found out is a number of times when people found out that they were actually videotaped, they would literally hang the phone up. Or they said, well, you know what? Well, let me think about it, and let me think about it, blah blah. And I'll get back to you. Well, listen, no, I can mail you the form, because back then everything wasn't online. Or you can come into the station and get one, and you never hear from them again.
Right.
And so my point about this is the officers know that they're being taped. Citizens don't always know they do. I think they presume they are now, because it's pretty common. But when you look at the millions and millions and millions of enforcement contacts that happen every year, and you take out those a-holes, those idiots, those people who don't uphold the honor of the profession, that small, tiny amount, and they're out there. They're out there.
Sure.
From people who simply violate policy to actually commit crimes under the color of authority. We know they exist. But when you take out that minuscule percentage, and it is minuscule, the level of professionalism we see across this country, regardless of the agency, on whole, is outstanding. When you look at the number of enforcement contacts they deal with, and when you look at contacts like this last video, this officer went, like you and I said, probably to a fault, probably more than he should have. He went to every means that he could to accommodate this person who was clearly not going to comply and clearly was outside the law as far as documentation, registration, licensing, things like that. So I think they did a good job overall, and I hope everybody learns a little bit from officer safety. I wish people it showed me my mistakes more often. I think got them alive. Marcel, I'll let you finish up, and final word to you.
Yeah, so great topic. I'm sure young officers will meet these sovereign citizens at one point, and it's like you said. I wish I had a little more ammunition, so to speak, when it came to case law when I was younger. As I continued in the career, probably like 5 or 6 years, I got more involved with case law. And so that's my advice to young officers is get familiar with case law because it really does help you. Pennsylvania versus Mims, Maryland versus Wilson, and there's a number of other case laws in the books that really help officers do their job and do it safely and correctly. So, great topic. I hope people learn a little something. Even citizens, you know, when there's a legal stop, you have a obligation to give your driver's license, insurance, and registration to an officer. So,
Good advice, my friend. As always, we appreciate your expertise and your hard work out there in the streets. Everybody, thank you so much for watching Your Leo Nation. Please, we're asking you to subscribe. We are picking up more and more subscribers, more and more views. We are making an impact. We want everybody. We want violators as well as officers to be safe. And whatever we can do to help that cause, I'm all for. Again, share it, repost, subscribe, watch, like. Every bit helps us to help law enforcement. For Your Leo Nation, I am the Chief. God bless you. God bless America. And we will see you next time.
God bless everyone.